an all too familiar feeling watching the Philadelphia 76ers. We were duped. Or were we?
Hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
Got fanfished.
Oh, man. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show where we were all prepared like you were for a totally different post-game show. Instead, we get this one live from the Xfinity Lounge. Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon Bree, the president of basketball operations. I think she's madder than all of us. All of you in the chat, great to be with you. We're presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app using the code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And we thought the ordinary was winning. And until they were up 24, they had the lead. They were up 24, and we were like, all right, this is the best they've played from front to back all season long. They had a 24-point lead in the second half, and then they did not, Derek. They did not. Or a 22-point lead in the second half, and then they did not, man. So many things to talk about, everybody. We'll get to the player of the game, our temperature check from Ace Hardware, so many other things, your super chats. Once they start rolling in, we'll, of course, read your chats as we go along. But, Derek, man, this one had everything, and it ticked you off in a lot of different ways.
That was the best first half they've played all. That was the best half of basketball they've played all year, followed by the worst half of basketball they've played all year.
Yeah.
They scored 36 points in that second half. I don't know exactly how many turnovers, but it felt like they had as many turnovers as made baskets. It was really bad pretty much from the start and then got worse from there. Certainly the low light of the night came with Joel Embiid in the last 5 minutes and whatever that he was on the floor. The collapse started well before then, but we were giving him internally at the desk when we were watching it so much credit because in the first half, he was getting his points completely in the flow of the offense. He was being a hub. He was facilitating. He wasn't dominating the ball. Everything that you want Joel Embiid at this stage of his career to be, he was at. And then he played the first 6 or so minutes of the third quarter.
6 or 7 minutes.
Sat for like 12 minutes straight, and they were like, all right, it's time to let Embiid cook. What do you mean it's time to let Embiid cook? And look, their offense was junk before then. Tyrese looked like he was, on dead legs. He looks like those minutes are finally starting what he played tonight. 39 minutes. He's got to play fewer minutes. You can't. Joel Embiid was just not in any kind of a rhythm. He was clearly tired. He was getting bad shots. Vucevic, even though he's a defensive liability, has great hands, and he stripped him a couple times. It was an unconscionable decision to go ISO Joe towards the end. And I blame that on Nick. I blame that on Joe. It is only, one game and you hope that they correct it. But I was stunned watching that unfold.
By the way, that third quarter, 6 minutes and 38 seconds, 1 for 5 on the floor, 2 turnovers in that one. Kyle, go off.
So my frustration with Joel comes well before that fourth quarter stretch where they ultimately lose the game. He is too deep in his career for when they have a chance to put this game to bed early in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, they have a comfortable lead at that point. And he's throwing no-look, over-the-head passes for ridiculous, stupid turnovers that go the other way. And he's not taking care of the ball, and he's trying to play jumbo point guard when the whole reason everything was flowing in the first half is because he is not forcing things. The ball's not sticking with him. It's a lot of, yes, he's touching the ball. He scored 18 points in the first half. He was very good, right? You can't score that many points without being pretty involved in the offense. But a lot of that was easy stuff. It's quick catch and shoot jumpers. It's a drop off from Jared McCain in transition. It is not you getting the ball at the nail and jab step against Nikola Vucevic, or wasting 10 seconds of the shot clock doing absolutely nothing. And frankly, I think you could tell the misses start to get into his head a little bit toward the end of that game. He looked like he could tell that he was 1 for 5 in that third quarter by the time you get to the fourth, because he's not rising into those shots quickly. He's not making passes all that quickly. And it just seemed to trickle down to the rest of the team. And I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him, right? When he can't move, when he doesn't have mobility, when he's not explosive enough, those are things I look to and I say, that's about Joel Embiid's health. That's him not being in a rhythm. That's him needing more time. Him making amateur lazy young player decisions in the third quarter of a very winnable game that you should have already put away, that should be so far beyond him. And he should also have the presence of mind. 5 minutes left in the game, you're coming in. You should not be the featured player because you know you're coming in cold. You know you've been out for a full quarter. He specifically spoke about after a recent game when he was playing even fewer minutes than he is right now. How would you like your minutes restriction to be structured? Would you like to play shorter shifts so you can come back in? He wants these longer shifts because that helps him get into a flow. He has an understanding of what flow looks like for Joel Embiid. He had none of it in the second half. Not to say that any of the rest of these guys played all that well in the second half, but for a guy who has been so vocal about, I'm so happy that we finally have a team that can win without me. Winning without you sometimes includes you being on the floor and the ball is running through other people. Other guys are getting their touches down the stretch. And so I don't want to pin it all on him. Nick Nurse also has to recognize at some point, this isn't working. We need to move Joel's floor spots. Maybe on this possession, and there were a couple of these, he's just going to be a guy in the corner who's a catch and shoot release valve rather than a pick and roll guy, pick and pop guy with a Tyrese Maxey. Maybe let's get VJ Edgecombe involved in some way instead of Tyrese Maxey beating his head against the wall, possession after possession after possession. The legs are not there. He's taking tough step back jumpers at the end of the game, tough runners. They're not getting him off the ball so he can get downhill, coming across the defense like he was in the first 2.5, 3 quarters of this game. There are a million reasons why this game went and ended the way it did. But I have very little sympathy for how it ended and how they lost for Joel because I view it as his role at this point. If he is moving into this stage of his career where he's not MVP level Joel, he is the first person who will recognize that. He knows when he doesn't have it going. He can play jumbo, just passing hub in the middle of the floor or quick decision maker, right? You can't sit here and be like, man, he's this super skilled, super intelligent player, and then watch what he did for the final 24 minutes of that game and be like, well, that just kind of happened to him. He was really bad. They were all very bad in the second half, but I just thought that was a horrendous second half from him, and then it bled down to the rest of the team.
To see it play out the way that it did, because that's how frustrating it was, to see it play out the way that it did with him out there on the floor when Embiid came back in. First of all, Bona wasn't playing well. So when we saw him get to the scorer's table, we were saying, okay, we get it. It makes sense. Bona has been terrible. Also, Joel has been sitting a while. Now let's see how he does it. See if he can be a calming presence in a sense where, yes, he's been on the pine for a bit, but let me come in, set these hard screens. We saw rebounds that he was taking where he was grabbing them and not leaving any doubt, making sure that they had the possession. Do things like that. Not bring the ball up, falling, having to try to tip the basketball when he's doing so, making the overhead pass where we all said at the time, yeah, that's a 20-point lead pass, so he's messing around a little bit. But who knew that in the end it was going to come back to bite him the way that it was? So, but when he came back in the fourth quarter and he started to take those, you could see it from the moment one where he got the ball and took that first shot that he was done already. And that was, I haven't played pickup basketball in 2 weeks. What am I doing out here taking the first shot? That's the kind of shot that it was, where you just have no rhythm. Nothing is going right for the basketball team. And while you can be that calming influence there out there on the floor, you can't take a shot like that. I think part of the problem, though, was when he tried to back guys down, he couldn't move them.
He couldn't generate any kind of leverage. And since he couldn't move
them, he felt like the normal things are just going to start going back and everything's going to start rotating in my head of, I can always go back to the well of what I can do, and that's that fadeaway jumper, or let me get a hang dribble jumper that we saw him make early on. One of the things that when he did come back in even in the second half when things started going sideways, in that third quarter, he tried to get Vucevic on one of those. It was very, very early in the third quarter. He tried to get Vucevic on one of those typical, as you called it, grift early, get the foul. He did it early in the first half, and it worked. In the third quarter, he tried the exact same thing. The officials didn't call it. Bad shot, they go the other way. Sixers still up 22, so it's not a big deal. But that is kind of how it started to shape itself and play itself out for the remainder of the game. And while they did still have a double-digit lead, and Nick Nurse could take him out around that 20-minute mark of where his restriction was, he went back to him because he had to. But if Nurse is going to do that, Joel was going to have to be, as Kyle and Derek pointed out, he has to be the veteran and understand that, hey, I just have to come out here, close this game for this final 6 minutes, and be the decoy that he talks about being because he's Joel Embiid. Be that decoy to help them secure the victory, win by one, have the record that you have, and look at the film and talk about what went wrong in the second half, where we're not talking about a 24-point comeback and a loss. Instead, we're just simply talking about a 1-point win where we need to correct whatever the problem is that showed itself there in the second half. He was part of the problem. And then because he can't defend and because he can't move, he had some really good defensive plays down there. He had a key block down in the second half towards the end, and he made some good rotations. But he was also still that guy who had to exert so much energy at that point where it was still a runway to the painted area because he couldn't recover, and the guys on the back end, on the top of the defense, they could not slow Giddey down. They couldn't slow any of the other guys down from getting to their driving lanes, getting the head start, going downhill, and it just went out of control from there. The point that, Kelly Oubre defensively, outside of the fouls, he was pretty good. But you got to keep Giddey in front, too, at the end, and you cannot give up that straight line drive to the basket to, number one, get the layup to even the game up, but then also, cut the lead to one, but then also to cut that driving lane off where you're not allowing that pass to go pretty much cross-court on that baseline pass to Vucevic for that three-pointer. You cannot allow that stuff to happen. You've had so many good things happen, not only during the season, but in the first half of this game, to show where, hey, guys, Nick Nurse called the timeouts when he needed to call the timeouts. We have too many veterans out here on the floor that have too much leadership where we need to walk away with this win at the end. And also, Kyle, I'll bring this back to you as we talk about the Embiid piece. Things were so bad that where he and Edgecombe in the third quarter were trading passes of trying to figure out who needs to take the shot. Joel says, hey, young fella.
I support Joel on that one. VJ has to attack Nikola Vucevic on that island.
It's just where things had gotten to a point where even VJ, who has played so well this season, has gotten to a point where they were so out of sync with things that the passing back and forth, wasting 7 to 8 seconds on a shot clock, valuable possession there where things are not going away, where the young fella is not trusting himself. Joel is saying, hey, you have the mismatch. And then you have that type of stuff going on. So when you have that, the over-the-head passes, behind-the-back passes that are being thrown out of bounds, all kinds of things just going haywire for this team. Everything that could have gone wrong in a 24-point lead and a 22 second-half point lead did for the Sixers. Joel Embiid plays a big part in that. Nick Nurse does as well, and so many others. And we're here to talk about it with you for this post-game show that, honestly, I wasn't expecting to have tonight.
No, and that's part of what's frustrating. Like you brought up the part with VJ, and I agree with Kyle 100%. Like VJ was a little bit out of the flow of the offense. He was trying to get involved. He had a clear mismatch. He could have taken VJ off the dribble or Vucevic off the dribble, no problem. And he kept deferring, and Embiid was like, "No, you passed it to him like 4 times in a row. Like take him off the dribble. Go.
Please take him off the dribble."
And on the first one, you could see it because VJ didn't take him immediately and make a move, whether it was backpedaling him and then making a step back or just simply going to the basket, and then he passed it to Embiid. He was out of sync that entire possession right from the start.
But Embiid had so many of those through the first 3+ quarters or 2+ quarters of the game, right up until he tried that behind the back pass to the cutter. He had so many of those moments, like the dump off pass to Jabari Walker. He had a couple other moments where he was very clearly trying to get others involved. And it is something like, look, we're going to sit here and be angry because Joel Embiid pretty much cost them the game down the stretch. There's almost no way to deny that. And he's going to have moments like this where he is probably going to slip back into MVP Joel Embiid, especially down the stretch. It did give you the blueprint of like, okay, this is how it could look. Like everyone in chat right now is like, you can't win with Embiid, can't do this, can't do that. I think he gave you the blueprint in the first quarter. And I think for 100%. The most part, he was buying into it until that, even in that third quarter. He was doing some dumb stuff in that third quarter, but it didn't seem like he was trying to, command the offense and run everything through him. He just got a little too comfortable because they were up 20 points and he thought he could screw around like he's, Jokic. It wasn't until that final 5 minutes when he came back in where he reverted to the really worst version of himself and some of those bad habits. So I am we're going to sit here and be frustrated, and you should be frustrated because that was an awful loss and Joel Embiid spearheaded it. But he did give you the blueprint of all right, this is how I can take the gravity I have and the attention I receive to make my teammates better. I just hope he finds a better balance of that as the season goes on, because what he did down the stretch was just not acceptable.
Let me ask you this too, because sitting on the bench like he did and seeing things play out the way that he did, he probably thought his night was pretty much done at that point because he had reached his limit. They said something to him on the bench about where he was minutes-wise. He knew exactly where it was. But Kyle, as Derek says, reverting back to MVP Joel, him sitting there, seeing things not going their way, nobody can score except for Tyrese. Do you think it crept back into his mind of, I have to go be the savior because no one else is doing it?
I'm sure there's a little bit of that and probably a lot of bit of that because, again, they only scored, 36 points in the second half total, something like that?
Including 0 in the final 4 minutes and 26 seconds.
So for that to happen, it's obviously a problem that is far bigger than just Joel Embiid. But if he is going to have that mindset, it absolutely cannot be Joel just takes 100 jumpers. MVP Joel was so dangerous because, yes, he had the face-up game at the nail. Yes, he could stretch the defense out and make threes. But he also could set up shop around the rim, put somebody on his hip, and hit a drop step and get fouled, hit a drop step and dunk or lay the ball in. And he's not even getting close enough to make those types of moves. He can't make real post moves because he's not getting within 8 to 10 feet of the basket. There aren't those deep touches. There is no leverage being generated in a way that he could seal a Vucevic, or if you get him on a cross match with a smaller player and then just score a quick 2. That's the difference, right? That's one of the big differences in his play is when the offense would go wherever it went tonight for long periods of the game in previous iterations of this team, they could get him the ball 8 to 10 feet from the basket, and he is getting to the free throw line. He is bringing the game to a halt and is almost a guarantee to get free throws because the other team has no idea how to defend him. He's a predictable offensive player right now. Teams know he just wants to shoot jump shots. He has become a lot more guardable because of that. And I understand all the reasons behind that, right? I've said probably 100 times, I don't want to see him attacking closeouts from the three-point line because that's almost always when he gets hurt, when he's trying to do those snake dribbles through traffic on drives. But if you don't have variety to your game, if you're not a real explosive threat out of the face-up at the nail, teams are just going to sit back on you and say, hey, look, if you hit 100 mid-range jumpers, that's going to hurt us, but we'll live with it. And right now, we're back to a similar spot as last year where guys that could never guard him have a chance to guard him because they can sit back in the perfect zone where they get a good contest in, but they're not any threat to get blown by him on the way to the rim. So that's what I would be concerned about with him offensively, and that bleeds into everything else. It limits your options with how you can use him offensively, which limits your options in terms of what you're running in late game offense. Of course, he's going to be super involved late in the game because he's the best screener. He's a super skilled offensive player. So even if you want Maxey taking the shots, you need him as that sidekick and second guy in those actions. But his decision-making and his ability to generate different types of looks has to be so much better.
All right, folks, we're going to take our first break of the night, come back, and we talk about the other things that went wrong in this game. Maxey with a game-high 39, but even him down the stretch just wasn't enough as he had on the night 4 turnovers where we've talked so much about him protecting the basketball. Things just caught up to him in his 39-plus minutes of action. We'll get to everything else from Jared McCain to Adem Bona, Trendon Watford, and so many others. Quentin Grimes, we'll get to them all. Sixers fall in a heartbreaking loss tonight. Man, tough one. 113-111. They're now 5-2. The Bulls 6-1 sit at the top of the Eastern Conference all by their lonesome. We'll talk about more when we get back on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Oh, gang, I let you guys down tonight. I apologize. Quentin Grimes, just 10 points, didn't hit that 13.5. But Josh Giddey got to that number with the rebounds and assists pretty fast there with his triple-double tonight in their win against the Sixers. But if you did make your wager or you didn't, you got to make sure that you are a part of the 90 million users worldwide with live streams, 780,000 events. Each year, they have pioneered live in-game betting, and you need to be a part of that going forward. The basketball team is right back at it. So early payout offers, if your team goes up by 20 points anytime during the game, early payout for you, like Philadelphia did tonight. You would have got that early payout with that 24-point lead tonight. If you are a new customer, we want to let you know that you now get $300 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $300 in bonus bets, everybody. Your bet, and you do that whether it's a win or a loss there with Bet365. Once again, sign up. PHLY365 is the code. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Guys, I know this one hurt. I know it. You are going to be excited for Sixers basketball again. You're going to be excited for Sixers basketball pretty quickly. And when you are, you want to make sure that when you get to somebody else's house, their setup is correct. It's not lagging. It's not buffering. You're good to go so you can enjoy NBA basketball. Because if you call yourself a basketball fan, you have to have Xfinity, the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. The way that you watch is next level. You've got all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear that it feels like you're in the arena. On top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply and multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Bree, let's get to the Ace Hardware temperature check. See who's heating up, cooling off with our Ace Hardware temperature check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. While Derek was talking, I said, you know what? Let's do the Ace Hardware temperature check on.
Everybody ice cold.
Everybody's ice
Segment
cold
over.
tonight. Yeah, you got it, man. But you know what? Let's start off with Quentin Grimes.
Ugh.
Because after a really good game to help them push to 5-1 against Brooklyn, and we looked at this one tonight as the game was just playing out. I mean, it looked like it was going to be one of those nights where everybody's contributing, everybody's making the. He was 4 for 11 in 29 minutes and 34 seconds, 10 points, 4 turnovers on the night. Early on, he looked solid, just like everybody else. He wasn't great, but he was good enough because of how the team was playing. He was 14-plus minutes, 3 for 6, and he was 0 for 2 from behind the three-point line, but he got to the free throw line. He was 2 for 3. He got fouled on a three-point attempt as well, making 2 of those 3, 2 assists. He had a steal as well, only 1 turnover in that 14-plus minutes. Sixers up 75-56 at the break. Tonight, he was awful in the second half.
Well, I think this is a perfect example of a game where when you get Paul George back, one of the luxuries that you gain is that you get to look at Quentin Grimes when he's playing like a bozo and say, go ahead and have a seat over there next to the assistants and the rest of the guys on the bench. Because this is kind of who Quentin Grimes is. When he's running hot, when he's playing well, he is a very gifted offensive player. So have a lot of 6 men been in the past. Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, go through all the best of them. A lot of those guys at the highest end are players who, in the wrong moments for them, you just need to, a coach has to look at that type of player and say, he doesn't have it tonight. This is on the low end of the scale. We saw that with Shake Milton, right? When Shake Milton was having his best stretches and his best years with the Sixers, he had a lot of weeks at a time where he would play well. And then you'd have a game where in the first half, he's 0 for 5 and he's got 2 or 3 turnovers and looks like he has no clue what he's doing out there. That was this type of game for Quentin Grimes. 4 turnovers. He's 4 for 11 from the field. Decision-making was just all over the place. You need to have an option to say, we're not playing the 3-guard lineup tonight. Unfortunately, there were not a lot of great options tonight because Jared McCain didn't play well. They didn't try, and maybe they should have at some point, those jumbo 2 big lineups at some point. Maybe that would have been a way to get around some of this nonsense. Maybe you say we're going to play small. If
he
you
did
have Dominic Barlow.
Right. He did try at one point where we were all sitting there and you were like, good, get him out the game. It was when he inserted Trenton Watford for Grimes.
Very briefly,
Score
yeah.
was 105-98, 8:08 to play in the fourth quarter in the game, and that's when Watford came in for Grimes. Unfortunately, he had to come back in.
Yes. So they have depth, but the power of depth is you have to pull some of these guys when they're not playing well. They didn't have anybody that was playing well enough on both ends of the floor to be able to sit him down. And they don't have anyone with the stature or the belief from Nick Nurse that he would turn to them in this spot. So when Paul George comes back, I presume that this is Paul George's spot in the lineup. Kelly Oubre has played well enough that he's going to close all these games. Maxey and VJ are going to close all these games. Grimes has to sit. He was just not good enough in any way. Didn't really help them defensively. On top of all this, they were playing small for, I don't want to say the majority of the game. I don't know the exact minute split. But for a lot of this game, they played Maxey and McCain and Grimes together. They played VJ McCain and Maxey together. They played all kinds of small looks. I would like to play some normal basketball if I'm the Sixers from time to time. But it's just a classic. This is how a sixth man plays. Some nights he doesn't have it. You sit him down. It doesn't mean that he's a bad player. Doesn't mean anything other than you don't have it tonight. He didn't have it tonight.
Yeah. Look, he averaged like 18, 5-5 and shot 45% from 3 over his first 6 games. You knew that wasn't going to sustain itself. He was going to have a regression night. The problem with Quentin is a lot of times when the regression night happens, the decision-making also follows it. And his decision-making tonight was really, really bad. And I think Kyle's right. Like, all right, Jared's on what did Jared end up playing here
Played
tonight?
almost exactly 15 minutes.
Paul George is out. Like, you have way fewer options than if those 2 players were healthy and at full strength. And I understand why Nick would prefer for Quentin to be that guy down the stretch when you don't have Paul George. He just wasn't tonight. And, they took him out, I feel like midway through the fourth quarter, and I thought he was going to sit for good. And they brought him back pretty quickly. And I think they just didn't have any options they were really comfortable with. But he was awful. And honestly, he was pretty bad in the first half too. Like, his numbers were a little bit better. I didn't trust the decision making in the first half anyway. So when that shot came off and was not there in the second half, I think it was like 1 for 5 in the second half. It was just a bad night all around by him.
Just for the heating up, cooling up portion of the show, the Ace Hardware heating up, cooling off, that's the temperature check. Quentin Grimes, hot and cold, exactly what it is as a 6-man and a scorer like that, Quentin Grimes. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, let's get to VJ Edgecombe also, because Edgecombe we said it, while his stat line where he records his first ever career double-double, getting on the glass, helping out on the boards, and he finished with 11 rebounds, 12 points on the night. He had 2 steals as well, but he also shot Derek 4 for 12 from the floor. It wasn't even the 3-point line. He was 2 for 3 from 3.
Most of his makes came from 3.
It was everything else. And he attacked the basket a few times, felt like he got fouled. He looked at the official, asking and wondering where the call was going to come from, if it was going to come at all. It did not, but he struggled tonight. So we saw rookie Edgecombe tonight. He still played a lot of minutes. He played 37 minutes, but to you guys' point of no Paul George, Jared McCain hasn't gotten back yet. He just played the 15 minutes tonight, and you could see where he was struggling. Barlow also helps out. VJ Edgecombe, this was his rookie kind of night.
It was, but even this one, of all the people in the second half collapse that I'm frustrated with, and especially that fourth quarter collapse, like when you score 14 points in a quarter, like a lot of stuff went wrong and nobody played well. Of all those, he probably annoys me the least just because he was playing some really good defense down the stretch. He made some really key defensive plays. And I do think he got like a little bit deer in the headlights where he just wasn't attacking situations where he should have attacked. And he's going to have moments like that as a rookie. Quite frankly, the fact that we are now 7 games in, and this is the first time I thought like he looks like a deer in the headlights. that speaks volumes to how ready he's been to contribute. He definitely was tonight. But like I said, the fact that he was making some really good defensive plays and probably their most engaged defender down the stretch, he is the one I'm probably the least annoyed with right now.
Yeah, so it's the two sides of the coin. On the one hand, I loved that he kept popping up and making plays on the glass and defensively. There was a sequence where I thought clearly got fouled, and he agreed with that sentiment, was animated with the refs. And the next time down the floor on defense, he dives on the floor, pulls out that loose ball. They go the other way. Kelly Oubre dunks it. And it's like, all right, normalcy is being restored here. They're going to see out this game. They will make enough plays. You're still holding on to hope that they're not going to complete this ridiculous collapse tonight. And so that was all very good. He just kept popping up around the ball, making plays, and they got a lot of second chance opportunities because of him tonight. But this was more of, we saw this at Baylor where he would go through stretches of games, and it's easy to blame Scott Drew or the offense or Robert Wright III for him getting frozen out or him playing passive. But sometimes he played too passive. And I thought this was a night where you saw that pop up again. I don't necessarily blame him. I thought they did a better job structurally in the first half of making sure he got involved. Like, that was part of the beauty of the Embiid first half, is it wasn't just the Joel and Tyrese show. They ran some dribble handoffs and some pick and pop actions with VJ and Joel, and they got some wide open trail threes for Joel. VJ was able to turn the corner, get into the paint, and stop and pop for some mid-range looks that I think he's going to make a fair amount of those. So, on an average night, maybe he scores 16, 18 points, and we're all looking at this as a game they won. It got a little close, and that's the difference in margin. So I think they sped him up a little bit too. I think they got into him, and he felt rushed on some of his attempts. That comes back to the issues that he has with his handle and how he's adjusting to the style of defense they're playing against him. You're between a rock and a hard place, because if you're Nick Nurse, it's hard in that huddle to be like, we're going to go to the rookie late who's 4 for 12 rather than Joel Embiid, who was 7 for 21 and looked a lot worse at the end of the game. It's a tough pitch to make, but I do feel like they are not getting him the ball, other than we have to give him the grenade at the end of the clock in these clutch time situations. 5-6 minutes to play, game is tight. He's not getting opportunities to create. Those are important possessions for him. Those are important reps for him. So I don't know what the balance is, but I don't think you can let it get to the point that he's not touching the ball and he's not involved with the play unless it's a late clock catch and shoot or just a desperation play for him in the third and fourth quarters of games. It's just, he's too important to this offense to have him deferring the way he is.
Yeah, tough finish, of course, for the Sixers. Tough one for Grimes. Even tough one for VJ Edgecombe, while he played some really good defense and some good help stuff, getting some loose balls, leading to a break for Kelly Oubre. Also, just some tough decisions because he was in his own head of trying to figure out how to stay active and involved on the offensive end as well. When we come back, we'll talk about everyone else and all the other else's that happened in this game, because it wasn't good, especially when you blow a 24-point lead. Everyone played a part in this one. Sixers lose 113-111, 5-2 on the season. Bulls improved to 6-1. Sixers are right back at it against the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland tomorrow. And it's a 7 o'clock start.
Right back at it after this one.
And it's a 7 o'clock start. We'll have pregame for you tomorrow at 6:30 right here on the Sixers pregame show. But tonight, we vent the postgame show right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame.
Guys, everybody's got their favorite hard tea, but have you ever turned the can to read what's in it? You can't, because they don't tell you. While they hide what's inside, Crooked Tea is bragging about it. Crooked Tea brews real USDA organic tea for real flavor with zero sugar, no fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. Next time you're at the store, flip the can. If you can't find the ingredients, just put it back. Then I want you to grab a Crooked Tea. Has zero sugar, real tea. They are fully transparent about it. You know it, Philly. Real recognizes real, so why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you. And once you have that Crooked Tea, you're thinking about, oh, you're feeling good. You're out on the town. You're saying, yeah, maybe I need to go to a jewelry store. Maybe I need to pick out something for my partner. And then you're there and you're saying, boy, I'm over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. You're thinking, what's the difference between this diamond, that cut, this cut, whatever it might be. And just simply, what if they don't like it? It can be very stressful. That's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer. They make the whole process seamless. From the minute you walk in, they treat you like family. They actually listen. They help you figure out what your special person will love. Then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. There's no pressure. There's no pushy sales vibe. Just good people who love what they do. And the end result is something you're going to be proud to give to your loved one that they'll never forget. So the next time you need that perfect piece, go see Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30 plus years in the game, voted Philly's #1 jeweler year after year. Over 1,000 5-star reviews, speaks for itself. Check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them the guys at PHLY sent you.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Derek, Kyle, Devon, Bree, we're all with you. Great to see you all in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button, everybody, while you hang out with us on this late night. We appreciate you staying up late with us to vent about your Philadelphia 76ers in this ugly loss. Ugly loss. Also, in this one, Tyrese Maxey, 39-plus minutes, and he was 14 for 26 from the floor, 6 of 10 from beyond, made all of his 5 free throws, 5 boards, 5 assists, had 4 turnovers. You could tell. He had 3 block shots, too. He had a big one there. Who was it on? It was on Buzelis. Tried to basically dunk on him, and he got up there and met him, and he got the ball. But you could tell, again, that he was tired there at the end, and you saw it on those shots that he took.
No, he was clearly tired down the stretch. I think it was 2 for 8 in the fourth quarter after scoring 31 points in the first 3. Like, he was really, really good for a long time. And
31 on 12 of 18 shooting.
And in that third quarter, when the offense went stagnant, like, he was the only one making any kind of shots to even keep them afloat. He was bad in the fourth. But again, like, I know PHLY guy, who got in a little bit earlier, wants a little more focus on Maxey. Well, Maxey carried you for so long. And I honestly blame more the process of his shots than the results of it. Like, him coming up short on a bunch of jumpers late is not surprising at all, given the workload he was asked to carry. I remember we were sitting here going like, oh, now that, you know, Jared McCain's back, and look, Jared McCain's clearly not all the way back, and he wasn't good, and he was playing the first basketball in, was it 326 games, I think the broadcast kept saying. Days.
I was going to say, boy, I missed a lot of games.
So you wouldn't expect him to be all the way back. But, like, you really need Jared to be in there so that Tyrese isn't playing 39 minutes and isn't being asked to shoot 30 times per night. Unfortunately, that's not what it was tonight. He was gassed. And I think his decision-making, like, he was not as big of a part as a stagnant offense as Embiid, but he was certainly a factor in there. He defaulted back into that 2-man game with Joel, and he just didn't have it in the fourth.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And even there was one, when he came back into the game when things were going out of control, he came back in the game in the fourth quarter, probably around 9 minutes in the game, and he got a basket right away. He got a layup, and he got a basket right away. Like, okay, he has enough to close this game out. But even he didn't expect it to get to where it got to, where he had to exert so much energy in the things that he did. But there was one fadeaway that he had, making the shot all night, making the shot all year. But his legs were so done, he even went long on that one where it went right off the back of the rim, and you could see it even coming off his hands that this one might not look like the ones that he has made and taken and made all season long and even tonight. Because that, I'm not even talking about the 3. I'm talking about living there in that 15 to 17 area where he's fading away, knocking down that shot. It just wasn't his. And you can clearly tell that he was fatigued.
I'll tell you the play that infuriated me more than any other tonight with him. They're up 3 points. There's about 90 seconds to go. They had gotten a stop. And rather than trying to play ball control offense, and look, there are downsides to playing conservative and trying to bleed the clock. But rather than trying to burn some clock, run a good set, Maxey tries to push the pace in transition and forces up a bad shot on the break with multiple Bulls players around him and contesting. Shot falls harmlessly off the rim. Chicago goes back the other way. Game gets a little bit closer. It's just not a play that as the now 25-year-old, sixth-year all-star guard, guy who's been leading the NBA in scoring, you just have to understand time and situation better than that. It's not the time to be playing 100 miles an hour. And frankly, I think that was one of their biggest problems outside of Joel the whole second half. They played breakneck speed in the first half when things are going well. And when you're hitting shots, you're playing good defense, or at least you're playing active defense, and everything is working on the break. I understand why you just want to keep go. When things are not going well, I don't need everyone running 100 miles up and down the floor. There is a time and place for pace. There's also a time and place to get into your sets, to run something deliberate and get a clean look, or at least get something that you feel like there was good offensive process behind it. You know what the best plays, or some of the best plays I thought they ran were tonight? They ended with Tyrese Maxey runners, and they were not Tyrese having to dribble around in circles. They're not Tyrese and Joel running two-man game and using 18 seconds on the clock. It's Tyrese coming across the face of the defense, getting a flare screen, and he's turning around that screen. He's already got a step on the defender, and it's one, maybe two dribbles. He's into a clean look, easy 2 points. They stopped running that stuff late in the game. Instead of running things like that where you're getting him off the ball, you're leveraging his speed, you're getting him into looks that he is very good at. He's been great on those runners and floaters from the day he entered the NBA. Instead of trying to generate shots that were going down for him, they're running this ultra conservative, just, hey, we're going to dribble the air out of the basketball, and one of him or Joel are going to take a shot with like 3 seconds left on the shot clock. Run something purposeful. So that's on Nurse. It's also on Maxey, because if you're going to heap all this praise on him for being a potential MVP candidate and all NBA and all this other stuff, you have to expect more from him in that second half. So, by and large, a good game. The stats will say that's a great performance and it's going to help his averages and whatnot. But 1 for 3 from 3 in the second half, 6 of 16 from the field, just wore down over the course of the game. And they have to figure out better ways to get him involved in crunch time that are not just put the ball in his hands and figure it out.
Tyrese Maxey, still player of the game with his 39 points, a game high. Also got to the free throw line. Got to the free throw line 5 times, making all 5 of those. 14 of 26 from the floor, 6 for 10 from beyond the three-point line. 3 blocks to go along with 5 assists on the night as well. When we come back, our final break, talk a little bit more about everyone else. Got to look on Chicago's side. Josh Giddey with the triple-double. How great was he? Vucevic with the big shot. What did you guys see there? We'll talk about it all. Wrapping up the show on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame.
Guys, we want to make sure we tell you about TrueMark, because if your home needs a little tender loving care, or if you're dreaming of that next big vacation, listen up. TrueMark Financial's HELOC Select just got even better. Rates just dropped, making it more affordable to put your home's equity to work. You need a new kitchen, big repairs, maybe knock out some of that debt. With HELOC Select, you can access your cash all at once or just when you need it. Total flexibility, just like a good game plan. In other words, not what the Sixers ran down the stretch. Make it happen today. Visit one of TrueMark's 24 branches or head to TrueMark.com/PHLY and get in the game today. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender, NMLS 404938.
And we want to thank you. Thank you for being a part of PHLY, of course. Thank you for being a part of the community, where we're always looking to improve our shows and better understand how you listen and what you value most. That's why we've launched a quick survey. Your feedback helps us shape the content you love and make it even better. It only takes a few minutes, but it makes a big impact if you can get involved. Take a moment, head to allphly.com/survey and let your voice be heard. Respondents have a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card right in time for the holidays, everybody. Just to let you know that we appreciate you. allphly.com/survey. Let your voice be heard. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show following the ugly loss of the season so far through 7 games, 113-111 on this one. Just tough one. We were all ready, coming in, sitting in with you guys. You know what? everybody, we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's have a good post-game show. Let's talk about the Cavs and how they're going to probably not win that basketball game. But, hey, they're 6-1. It went the other way. They're now 5-2 after that tough loss. Just looking at Kelly Oubre was good. He just couldn't stay out of foul trouble in his minutes out there on the floor, finishing with 18 points. He was 7 for 11, but he kept picking up those fouls, and he couldn't just stay out there long enough to – he had a good rhythm, but he couldn't stay out of foul trouble and remain out there because what Grimes wasn't giving you, what Edgecombe wasn't giving you, maybe that would have been that type of night that we've seen from Kelly Oubre, where he's that second, third leading scorer on the team because of how well he is playing. Just couldn't stay out of foul trouble. But as we go to Adem Bona and Trendon Watford with those minutes, and even talk about Jared McCain's first game back, Jared McCain, let's start there because he just looked like a guy who hadn't played since December 13th of last year.
Yeah, and he ended up with, 4 shots, something like that?
4.
0 for 4.
4 shots.
2 of which
I feel
were
like
behind
every
the
one of
goal.
them came front rim, like every single one of them. And he didn't really have a rhythm. He didn't really look like he was firing away like you expect him to. When he did shoot, they were coming up front rim. That's fine. It's a first game back. Like, you're literally just getting him on the floor, getting him back in the flow of a game, asking him to break a sweat a little bit. Like, I don't think any of us were expecting necessarily a monster first game in 326 days from Jared McCain. You would have liked a little more, but I'm not stunned by it.
It is part of why I worry about what his role will ultimately look like, because when you're already coming off of a major injury where you miss most of last season and then you miss the preseason and you're getting thrown back into a rotation where the number 3 overall pick is playing well, Quentin Grimes is playing well, Maxey playing at the all-NBA type of level, it's going to be hard to find the balance unless he just plays unbelievably well. It'll be hard to find the balance between you got to find minutes for him without throwing off something that is working, the combinations that are working. The Grimes, Maxey, Edgecombe triumvirate has been very, very good together, and they've been very, very good in different combinations. And McCain should be able to scale with those guys. He's a very easily scalable offensive player, doesn't need the ball in his hands. Thought he had some good decision-making moments tonight. The one drop-off he had to Joel Embiid in transition was a nice moment at the end of the first half where maybe he had an opening to shoot a 3, but said, I'm not going to force it. I'm going to play good offense. I'm going to get the better shot by the rim. I'm going to feed the big guy while he's got a favorable situation here. Love to see that stuff. But I still wonder if he's going to end up in a minutes crunch here. And I do think that's also part of the problem they ran into as a team tonight was Nurse is having to toggle through a lot of different guys in pretty quick shifts to try to get everyone their minutes on the floor. We're looking at lineups tonight that, frankly, we've just never seen before. I think we even briefly got a 4-guard lineup in the second half of the game. I don't know how well it's. I'm going to have to go to the lineup data to go back. It was
also 4 guards in Bona, and Bona was a disaster today.
Yeah. So you could see in real time, like, these guys are not going to be able to establish proper rhythms as they're in and out and in and out and in and out. The Oubre foul trouble complicates things as well. So I'm not worried about him individually, but I am going to keep an eye on, what impact does this have on a team that things are working pretty well right now.
If he was a guy who went through a full training camp and played from game one, and we saw a night like tonight where Grimes doesn't have it, he's probably getting those minutes, and he's at his best. He has his legs. The shot maybe is falling, or even if it's not, just his gravity overall, his ball handling will help get others some finishes there at the rim or some outside shots. He even had that one really good play where he drove to the basket, dumped it off to Embiid, shovel pass. Joel Embiid got a quick layup after getting the guy in the air, and that was probably because McCain knew he didn't have his legs at that point. So I do think that once he gets his legs underneath him, he gets some shots to start going for him, somebody's going to have an off night. All 4 of them are not going to be good every night together. That one guy who is not having a good night, insert Jared McCain. McCain's not. We've already seen how the other 3 operate together and work in succession where they can play really well together, and that should work. So, but I am curious to see how Nurse does navigate all of that, because there's going to be times where 2 of them are off. But if you have Paul George back, Oubre's playing okay, and you can funnel through all the depth that we speak of and see how it all plays out. The Bona part, Derek, you mentioned that. Yeah, not good. This is him, where he's phenomenal one day or for 4 minutes, and then he's not phenomenal at all in the other.
That's one way of putting it.
No, he was
not phenomenal at all.
Phenomenal at all.
He was frustrating in almost every capacity. Like,
Couldn't squeeze the pill,
couldn't
rebounds,
catch the ball, couldn't. Forget even the hands. Like, he's just out of position
I
so
cannot
much
forget
on
those,
defense. No, the hands are bad. But that's the frustrating part. Like, he's out of position, it feels like 90% of the time. And then the rare times he is in position for a rebound, he can't catch the darn ball anyway. Can't catch it on passes. He was just, and defensively, like, he was not making any kind of presence like he normally does. Don't think he picked up that many fouls. It's maybe the only thing he did well.
You only had one foul tonight.
Yeah, there you go.
In 22 minutes. That is a Hubie Brown classic. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Played an absolute stink bomb, but he only had one foul. So
yeah, he didn't do legitimately anything well. It was one of those games where like you could have gone to Andre Drummond and be like, I get it.
I thought he would have.
Yeah.
I did think he was going to go there.
You guys know this. I don't know if I've impressed this upon the chat quite as much. I am pretty low on Bona relative to the consensus strictly because he has horrible hands. And that is one thing that you don't really see that improve in a dramatic way.
No.
Guys improve it maybe a little bit marginally year after year and over time. But guys who come into the league with bad hands don't turn 28 years old and all of a sudden it's like Jerry Rice going across the middle on a post route and it's got stickum on his gloves. Adem Bona's hands are bad. He's a bad rebounder because of that. He's bad at catching the ball in traffic on offense because of that. He can offensive rebound a little bit because when he's coming downhill running toward the basket and he can use the athletic tools, there are just so many plays where he's up there and nobody else can be and he can make those plays. But when he's got to contest a shot, box somebody out, and then reestablish himself, that's where you see like the hands just aren't good enough. There are a lot of plays where it's not even like the other team gets the rebound. The ball will just come off his hands and go out of bounds. And then it's, hey, Chicago has 14 on the shot clock. They're going to get to run another possession here. So I like what he does as a rim protector. I think he's super exciting to watch when he has it going. We saw offensive growth from him end of last season. But I just keep coming back to it. They need him to rebound. It's especially a problem on a team that plays all these guards. You're playing 3-guard and potentially 4-guard looks. You need the center to rebound. Joel hasn't been good enough at that, quite frankly. Even Drummond, like Drummond has had his moments, but Drummond has not been the all-consuming rebounding force that they need him to be. It highlights why Dominic Barlow was able to carve out a niche almost immediately, because whatever you're not getting at center, he was helping chip away at that problem. And then you only need VJ to get 4 or 5, Oubre to get maybe 6 rebounds, Maxey to get 4, and team rebounding is good enough. You're giving away extra possessions that you can't afford to give away. Until he cleans that up, and I don't know if he ever will, I can't get there with Adem Bona as like a full-time must-play type of player.
This is where the importance of the second-round pick, where they had the 35th overall pick, and we talked about it being an extension of the first, the back end of that first, and a player that can come in and contribute and help out. We thought they might go big, wing player, go big in general, and they did. And unfortunately, though, they're not ready to play their second-round pick at that position, because his rebounding, which he did at a high rate in college and showed some really good things there, they're not ready to put him on the floor even for some minutes right there to give somebody a break. Tonight, if you're not going to Drummond, you can't even go to Broom. And that we give credit where credit is due for the draft picks that they've had. But that one right there, man, I mean, it's still early in his career too. But you just need some minutes, somebody that can soak up a couple of minutes in the front court because of Bona not doing those things. No, while Broom is not going to protect the paint, can he rebound? Joel can't really do either at a high level right now. Still trying to figure that out.
But he was much better defensively tonight than he has been in the other games. That is one thing we should give Joel credit for.
Yes.
was
we
weird.
end the post game show.
It was weird though. Early on, it seemed like he was getting beat in space a lot, but man, he was leaping for
He
blocks
turned it on for sure.
that he just wasn't even attempting earlier in the year. Yeah.
But to your point,
A
Devon,
DMP for your second round pick where you need some front court help tonight.
and it really stings
Front
that
end
the
of a
two
back-to-back.
picks in front of you, like Kalkbrenner right in front of you as a big, that would have solved the problem we're talking about. But Charlotte in those two picks, James is having a really good start to his career in Charlotte as an option off the bench. There are people in Charlotte who are even saying, we want this kid to start right now. He's playing that well. And then Kalkbrenner has been that kind of perfect, just like he's going to catch the ball around the rim and finish, and he's going to protect the rim at the other end. He's exactly what he was billed as. I'm not saying that would have been the perfect pick at 35. We don't know how their careers will play out, but you're not getting anything out of Broom right now, and Kalkbrenner's been able to come in right away and help a team that, unfortunately, they lost tonight, but he has overall played pretty well.
Yeah, he really has. So that's unfortunate, especially on the front end of a back-to-back where you might need Bona tomorrow. Well, maybe that's where the Drummond piece comes in, where you have to play Drummond because Embiid's not going to go, and you need to have them. Tonight, just to steal some minutes, that would have been nice, especially with those issues on the glass where Giddey was sneaking in there, getting a few. And that was part of the problem with the whole Bona thing. It wasn't Vucevic getting those offensive rebounds. It wasn't even Smith getting those off. It was the guards. It was Giddey, who we know has a knack for the basketball. But, yeah, you're Bona. You're supposed to be able to jump up there and snatch that and not allow that to happen. So that is the tough part there. And before we get ready to get to the Super Chats, just quickly, Giddey, it's been fantastic. He was fantastic
very good
tonight.
It's another
29, 15, and 12.
Mm-hmm.
And he was tremendous. And he helped guide them back to where ultimately they were tonight with this victory.
Yeah.
It's been tremendous.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the Super Chats. See what the folks have to say. EJ, I see it right away. EJ says, Joe is faking, which normally freezes the defense so he can shoot uncontested or go by, but he has not hit those open shots enough for it to work, so he's just out of control on contested shots. He hasn't really gotten comfortable in that normal layup where he knocks down that 15 to 17-foot elbow jump shot. Yeah. That hasn't been there consistently for him.
And again, I think he still doesn't want to drive like he previously did, and because of that, he becomes one-dimensional, so those jumpers become a little more contested and doesn't quite have the lift. It is a little bit like what we saw last year where like he doesn't quite have the confidence or maybe just the burst to take people off the dribble like he previously did, and it's just making those shots 10% tougher.
Bernard says, is it just me, but I believe Embiid makes Maxey play the wrong way and go back to his bad habits. It's like Maxey wanted Embiid to close. Horrible loss.
And I don't agree with that because I have said 100,000 times on this show that I love their two-man game together. Now, the downside of how effective their two-man game can be is I feel like those two get lost in their own we're the whole offense sort of deal. And that's where good offense goes to die. You have to have some form of second side action or cut. Like when those two-man actions are working the best, the defense is so focused on them that then there's the opportunity for Kelly Oubre to crash in from the dunker spot or someone to get free on the weak side for a right wing three or some other type of look. There was some great stuff that they had going on in the first half tonight. Talked about how VJ was able to get involved in his own actions. And frankly, one of their best zone possessions they've ever had since I've been covering the team happened when they're in the midst of an amazing first half. Chicago says, let's throw a 2-3 at them. They get the ball to Joel in the middle of the floor. Quick pass to Quentin Grimes. Quick swing to Tyrese Maxey. And that's a practice three for him.
Yeah.
So they had some very good offensive execution involving these two core guys tonight. They just have to be better for 4 quarters rather than just a quarter and a half.
No question about it. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, 3 Super Chats, and we appreciate it. Just want to let everybody know we're going to overtime, everybody, at allphly.com. Thank you on the television side. We really appreciate it. Back for the pregame tomorrow at 6:30, and the Cleveland Cavaliers hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Davon says, refs swallowed the whistle for the 1.5-point Vegas odds tonight.
I did think in the second half, VJ got a particularly bad whistle.
I mean, the Bulls definitely got way more physical with their defense, and the refs let them. And I give the Bulls credit because after getting absolutely torched in the first half, they had a really good response in the second half.
Yeah. The refereeing issues can be true, and the Bulls still deserve their credit for playing the way they needed to pull that game out.
Davon continues, sitting in arthritic knee for 20 minutes isn't good, Nick.
I concur.
Yeah. I do wonder if Bona had been playing better, if maybe he would have stuck with him.
I think he would have. He was playing. Yeah, we've seen him close games already.
Bona was awful.
He was.
And bringing Drummond in cold
Yeah.
with 5 to 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, not exactly an easy ask for Andre either.
And again, I have to think that one of the reasons why he didn't go to him at all, Drummond, is because they play tomorrow night, and we don't expect Embiid to play on that second night of the back-to-back. You're going to need both of those guys against Cleveland in that big front court. Game shows we need Paul for half-court offense for real.
And half-court defense.
Paul George is good at basketball. I know that there was a horrible first season here, and I know that people are enamored with all the young guys.
And he's overpaid, and he's probably past his prime, but he's also really important.
All the qualifiers aside.
But all of that can be true. He can be overpaid and past his prime, but also still really needed on this team.
Yeah. The worst version of Paul George is still someone that will be guarded tightly on the perimeter, that is going to create space for those two-man actions in the middle of the floor, driving lanes for VJ Edgecombe, whatever, you name it. So just that alone and the intelligence as an off-ball defender will help this team.
All right, we thank everybody for the Super Chats. And we are going to get ready to say goodnight to everybody because we are back at it tomorrow at 6:30 for the pregame against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavaliers on the season right now. They've bounced back where they started off, didn't look all that great. They're now bouncing back where they are 4-3. They won their last game. Still right there in the play-in at the moment, but they are home, and they have a 2-1 home record, getting ready to host the 5-2 Philadelphia 76ers, who are now tied with the 5-2 Detroit Pistons in the standings, right behind the 6-1 Chicago Bulls. I think I'm going to be on at 10:30 tomorrow morning with Anthony. I think it was...
God bless. I'm sleeping in.
It was supposed to be for a different reason when I was joining them, which was a 6-1 Sixers in the 70-point first half. That changed in the second half where the Sixers lost by 2, 113, 111, blowing a 24-point lead. Let's get to the world-famous roll call.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us even after that just despicable, awful, no good, very bad loss by the Sixers after what looked like a hell of a performance for about 24 minutes there. You're still here with us. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you to Music Lover 31, to Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, with a bunch of super chats.
What up, Davon?
Tonight, to Neil Deaver.
Neil.
Philly J, veteran of the Psychic Wars.
Vet. You couldn't tell us that this was going to happen? Couldn't tell us?
Yeah. Phil W., number one Kelly Oubre fan, eating good.
You are sitting pretty,
and
my
Phil,
friend.
to his credit, also said, hit the like button, everyone.
Thank you,
Phil.
Phil.
Said that earlier. Phil advocating for us. We love that, Phil. Thank you very much. Thank you to Fusion, Lost Sleep TV, Jason, A-Team,
tonight.
Teresa, Uptown Buck,
What
Glenn
up, Uptown
A,
Buck?
L Torrent, Digital, Pat Phoenix. Good thing you didn't typo that one, buddy. Rad Russian. Bernard McCoy with a super chat tonight. Morris Smith. Puppas.
What up, Puppas?
Our guy Al. The 2-minute warning.
What up, Al?
CJ Jones. Vic. Miko Suave. Liam Stevens. Shiz. Bai Chi. Reza. Kevin Thompson. Philly 007. Mr. Son. JS. Yams. PHLY guy. Jarrell. Of course, my girl, Nona.
Hey, ladies.
Mom's grandchildren. What's up to Mom? Always in here. Eugene Ross, Jess, Val, Ramid, Marcus Blackstock.
Mid, what up?
B. Knight, Kirk Adkins, Jay of the Jungle, Theo,
what's
MP. We had a lot of early commenters in here tonight that I can't scroll any further. Terrence Knights. Hello to Terrence. Hello to everyone. Goodbye to everyone. We love you all for being here late on a school night on a Tuesday.
Oh, man. Tough one.
It's a real tough one.
Tough one.
Please, on your way out, hit that thumbs up button. It helps out the channel. It helps me sleep at night. It makes us all feel nice, warm, and fuzzy. And of course, it's a thank you to super producer Bree, who's always holding it down on the back end, making things go for this show.
Bree.
She's the best. Welcome back, Bree. Indeed. Thank you guys for being here. We'll be back tomorrow night, as Devon said, for pregame and postgame. Sixers, Cavs. Can they get back to their winning ways? It's going to be a tough one on a back-to-back. At least it's a short journey from Chicago to Cleveland. It's not one of those crazy ones. So anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night. We hope to see you then. Until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.